News Talk 1070 KHMO presents On the Mark with Mark Hespin.
Good morning, Tri-States, and wherever you may be listening on the News Talk 1070 KHMO app. This is On the Mark. I am Mark Hespin, brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the Tri-State area, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. You got to ask them about that lifetime powertrain, no fear warranty on new and used vehicles. Tell them Mark sent you. Welcome on into episode 235 of On the Mark on this gorgeous Saturday, May 11th, heading into Mother's Day weekend in the Tri-States and across the globe. As always, follow me on all social media at Mark Hespin, MarkHespen. You can follow the show On the Mark, KHMO on Facebook, and also follow me on my YouTube channel. Just search Mark Hespin, MarkHespen. Follow along. We'll get back to our weekly updates. Took a week off. I had a little vacation time this past week, so that was lovely, and it was amazing. And I'm rested. I'm ready to go, jumping into it on this May 11th. And we got a jam-packed show for you today. Looking ahead, we're going to talk a decision made by the Chicago Bears to not have any sort of quarterback controversy going into the new year and naming their starter. I'll give you my thoughts on that decision. Also, we will talk about the fact that the NFL is about to release their schedule next week. A week from now on the show, I will have a ton of thoughts on the schedule and its release. But we do know a couple things already. I have a prediction for opening night in the NFL, and I'll talk about why it's actually an important thing. If you're one of those NFL fans who thinks the schedule release doesn't matter, it does, and I'll give you a great example of why it does matter for one team specifically, and then you can obviously draw the own conclusions for your own team, and we'll get into some of that next week on the show. We'll wrap up by talking about the fact that a week from now, the second major of golf's tournament season will be underway. The PGA will be underway in Kentucky, so we'll give you some thoughts on that, a little preview of the PGA Championship. But right now, let's waste no more time. Let's jump into it. Hespin headline number one. To me, the most important thing going in the world of sports right now, and it's something that I think Boston Celtics fans are asking themselves secretly behind closed doors, while not alluding to it in the big national media. And that headline is, can Jayson Tatum be the best player on a championship team? Now, it feels like a no-brainer when you say it, right? You're like, yeah, duh. Of course, Jayson Tatum could be the best player on a championship team. But the more you look into it and the more you look at the Game 2 loss against the Heat in round one and the Game 2 loss against the Cavs in round two, you start to ask yourself a little bit, is there something there? Is there something there that we're maybe just kind of sweeping under the rug and saying, no, it's fine. Tatum, was 0 from 3. I think he only took 2 shots in the fourth quarter of that Game 2 loss. And it was really an effort to where you say to yourself, we'd be really criticizing LeBron James. We'd be really criticizing Steph Curry. We'd be really criticizing a Kevin Durant in those moments. And yet, we sit here and we say about Tatum, no, he's young. He's not that young anymore. He's been to a finals. He's in year 6 in the NBA. Well, yeah, his age is young. He's in the prime of his career. He's in the heart of his career. He's in the time of his career where he's got his team to a 1 seed and should be putting together now the beginnings of his Hall of Fame resume, his GOAT conversation resume. And it definitely doesn't feel like that with Jayson Tatum, does it? Let me just give you an example of what I'm talking about, just to give this conversation some context, right? So the question is, can Jayson Tatum be the best player on a championship team? Well, look at the last group of championship teams. Last year, the Nuggets, Jokic, obviously we know he could be the best player on a championship team. Year before that, it was Steph Curry and the Warriors over Jayson Tatum and the Boston Celtics. We know Steph Curry could be the best player on a championship team. Year before that, the Bucks, Giannis, duh. Year before that, LeBron, the Lakers, bubble. LeBron, obviously, we know could be the best player on a championship team. Year before that, remember Kawhi Leonard, 1 year in Toronto with the Raptors. Gets it done. It's also funny, then you realize Kawhi's been on the Clippers now for like 5 years. It just doesn't feel like that because he missed years with the knee injury and they're just so underachieved. But Kawhi, at a time, there was 2 years. We'll get to another with the Spurs 2014 where Kawhi was the best player on a championship team twice. Warriors, KD and Steph, duh, we know both of them. The end, it was the Cavs with LeBron, yes. Warriors with just Steph, yes. Spurs with an aging big three and a young emerging Kawhi Leonard. He was the best player in that team. Heat, LeBron, obviously. Mavs, we know what Dirk Nowitzki did to LeBron. Lakers, Kobe, we know that. Then it was the Boston Celtics, KG, Paul Pierce. You go back, when you look at it, in the modern NBA, 2000 on, there has only been one team that has won a championship, and you argue, well, the only reason they won is because the team was just so good. Not because they had just one alpha dog with a good team around them, but mainly it was an alpha dog who, at any given moment, was the best player in that series. They were the MVP of that series. The only team that was the Detroit Pistons back in 2004. With Ben Wallace, Rip Hamilton, Chauncey Billups, Tayshaun Prince. They were such a good team against an aging Lakers team and a young, emerging Spurs team that the Detroit Pistons, before LeBron James, a young LeBron James, was able to take over the East. They had that 1 year. To me, I'd argue this Boston Celtics team feels a lot like that Detroit Pistons team. And it feels a lot less like that Raptors team with Kawhi or that Cavs team with LeBron or the Nuggets last year with Jokic, even the Bucks with Giannis. The Celtics team feels a lot more like that 2004 Pistons team. And what I'm getting at is, I'm just showing you the evidence that in order to win a championship in the NBA since 2000, you've needed either multiple A-plus players, Shaq and Kobe, the Heat teams with LeBron and D. Wade, the Warriors teams with KD and Steph, the Spurs teams with Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and then Manu Ginobili, you could argue, was an A on a lot of nights. Those Lakers teams with Shaq and Kobe and Pau. The Celtics, obviously, with their big three, multiple A-plus players. The Raptors had one, Kawhi, but he was a total alpha surrounded by a ton of great role players, and they got injury luck with the Warriors being injured. So I say all of this to say, it really, to me, feels like the Celtics are less of an A-plus superstar with a solid team around him and more of, man, that's just a really good team. Really, really good team. In the way that the Pistons were when you talk about Ben Wallace, Tayshaun Prince, Rip Hamilton, Chauncey Billups. Not one single person was necessarily like the alpha dog. They all played their roles, and they were all integral in winning that championship. That's kind of what this Celtics team feels like. So I lead that question, can Jayson Tatum be the best player in the championship team? My guess is yes, because if the Celtics win this championship, it will because Jayson Tatum plays extremely well in the finals. If the Celtics get to the finals and Tatum does not play well and he's averaging like 20 points or less in the series, the Celtics will not win the finals. They will win the finals if Tatum's averaging like 27, 28, and then Brown and Porzingis is healthy and some of the other guys step up around him, like historically great teams rise to the occasion in winning a title. So right now I ask myself this question, and I would ask you to ask yourself this question to my listeners. How many guys over, let's say, just the next 3 years, if you were going, all the players were in a draft, it was like a fantasy football, fantasy basketball, right? All the players just immediately, no one has any players. And pick your favorite team. My team would be the Bulls. In some way, the Bulls have the number one pick now in the redrafting of all the players. So all the players are available. You get to build your team, redrafting the players. How many players? You have a 3-year window, and then it resets. You can't go 5 years. That's too long. 3 years ago, the winner of the NBA Finals was the Milwaukee Bucks, right? Like, look how much things have changed. Warriors won one in between the Nuggets. Like, 3 years is a long time in the NFL. It's also a long time in the NBA, okay? So let's do a 3-year window. Next 3 years, how many players would you take in that draft before Jayson Tatum's name is called? I'll tell you right now, I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys I absolutely would call their names over Jayson Tatum. Absolutely. And that's Anthony Edwards. That's Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's Nikola Jokic. That's Luka Doncic. That's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And that's Victor Wembanyama. Those 6 guys are a lock. I'm taking those 6 guys over Tatum for the next 3 years. Now, Tatum's already been to a finals, and Tatum is, you could argue right now, a better all-around player than maybe Shai and Wemby. I don't think he's a better all-around player than Luka, Jokic, Giannis, and Ant. But projecting out, Shai just had his best season, finished second in the MVP. You could argue he deserved the MVP. He's emerging as a superstar, and I think he's going to be playing in a Western Conference Finals coming on up. So talk about the experience will, almost equal each other out. And then Victor Wembanyama is such a freak, and he had such a successful rookie year. I'd be willing to bet that over the next 3 years, my production I get out of him is equal to or better than Jayson Tatum. Now, then you say, okay, top 6 are off the board. You're picking at 7. Jayson Tatum is an option. Do you take Jayson Tatum right now over Jalen Brunson? Do you take Jayson Tatum right now for the next 3 years over Joel Embiid? Do you take him right now over the next 3 years over KD, Steph, or LeBron, the old guys? Do they have enough magic left in them to lead your team for the next 3 years? And then what about players like a Donovan Mitchell or a Jimmy Butler who have gotten to finals? Well, Jimmy did. And Donovan Mitchell, who is a scoring superstar in the prime of his career, who is now 1-1 with Jayson Tatum in the current second round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. I don't know exactly how many guys of that I would take over Jayson Tatum. I could make the argument that Jayson Tatum would be the next choice at 7. But I could also argue that right now, I like Jalen Brunson more than Jayson Tatum. Joel Embiid is an MVP in the prime of his career, and if I only have a 3-year window, he's a big man. I think I could build a better team around him than the Philadelphia 76ers have. I can make the argument that right now, I would take LeBron for 3 more years because I think LeBron James, we've proven after this year, he's still capable of scoring 20 a night and giving me 10 and 10. I'm being a facilitator of the basketball, coach on the floor. Can make the argument that Jimmy Butler is a dog, and I've seen him go head-to-head versus Tatum in series over the last couple of years. And Jimmy Butler over the next 3 years, I get him in the last 3 years of his prime, and that Jimmy Butler mental toughness in big games, I've seen him do it at a higher level than I've seen Jayson Tatum do it. Steph, KD, that's tough. That's tough. Steph, probably not. I would take Jayson over Steph. I'd probably take Jayson over KD for sure, in the sense that KD, I think he's never been a natural leader, and he's towards the end of his career, especially for the next 3 years. Now, I'm not saying this to hate on Jayson Tatum. I'm not. It's not the goal. It's not my goal at all. I like Jayson Tatum. I think he's a great player. Like I just said, he's probably the 7th best basketball player on planet freaking Earth right now that I would take in a draft over the next 3 years. But I think 2 things are shown from this argument. Number one, the fact that we're having the discussion about Tatum, and I think it's a fair discussion based on the things that I presented, shows you that Jayson Tatum needs to do more. He needs to show us the dog, the alpha, the killer. Like he dropped those 50 in the elimination games against Philly. We need that more. When you're at home against Cleveland in the second round, light it up. Take over the game. Establish your dominance on a more regular basis the way your supposed idols, a Kobe Bryant, would do, a Michael Jordan would do, a LeBron James would do. for all you knock on LeBron James, remember that stretch when he went to 8 straight finals in the Eastern Conference and he didn't lose a first or second round game? LeBron James was a killer because he knew that he'd rather have rest later in the playoffs than get muddled down in 5 and 6 game series in the first 2 rounds. LeBron James later in his career refused to lose first and second round games, and he rarely did. In an Eastern Conference, it's just as weak now as it was for LeBron. So to argue that, Jason's facing tougher competition, I just disagree with that. Disagree with that wholeheartedly. So I think Jayson Tatum, we need that consistently. I expect Jayson Tatum to put on a show in Game 3 and demoralize the Cleveland Cavaliers in Cleveland, because that's what Kobe would do. That's what LeBron would do. That's what Michael would do, right? That's what the all-time greats do. And if Tatum wants to get out of this kind of, is Tatum the guy conversation, he'll do it. He'll take over the series, and he'll be aggressive, even though he's got a great team around him, and he can be passive. The team clearly needed him to step up in Game 2, and he couldn't and didn't do it. And then secondly, I think the other thing this point brings up is, overall, in the history of the NBA, it's a lot like talking about quarterbacks. The star players, when you talk about the quarterbacks right now that you would take to be like, oh, absolutely, lead my franchise, guarantee I feel great I could win a Super Bowl with them this year, the list is about 6, just like in the NBA. They're very similar. So the NBA and the NFL have a little bit of that problem where you look at it and say, right now, there's probably only about 6 guys in each sport that you feel like no matter what the role players around them, that guy could lead them and that guy could be in a championship game or a Super Bowl or / NBA finals, like Final 4, Final 2 type. You know, in the NBA, it's Ant, Giannis, Jokic, Luka, Shea, Tatum, Wemby. And in the NFL, it's Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, Burrow, Stafford. You know what I mean? Like it's that type of similar argument. And so it's not a knock on Tatum to say, well, he's, kind of like Justin Herbert, where we know the talent's off the charts, but consistently we just struggle to see it. It's not a knock. It's just it's showing you 2 things. If you don't have a guaranteed A+ superstar, Jokic, Giannis, right now, to me in the league, Anthony Edwards, Luka, you're going to need to build an incredible, incredible roster. And if you are a Jayson Tatum and you're lucky that your GM has built an incredible roster, then it's your job to show up, drop 40 at home, and make sure you're up 2-0. Is that too much to ask? I don't think so. The Celtics, I expect to win the series, and I hope for Celtics fans that Jayson Tatum shows up, balls out, and plays like the alpha that I think he claims in his head to be. You're listening on the Mark News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app. When we come back, we're talking a little Bears football. Live and local. News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app.
What's up? This is Will I Am. I'm joining Stand Up to Cancer and Providence Health System to let you know that colon cancer affects the Black community at a higher rate. But there's hope. If you're 45 and older, go get a colon cancer screening right now, because it's 91% beatable if detected early. Ask your doctor or go to providence.org/colon cancer to determine which screening option is right for you.
1070 KHMO.
Welcome on back to On the Mark here on News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app, brought to you by the great people over at Kunis Honda Hyundai, your number 1 Honda and Hyundai dealer in the Tri-State area. 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. They are not only home to the lifetime powertrain no fear warranty on new and used vehicles, they are your destination for brand new Hondas, Hyundais, but also Toyotas, Rams, Jeeps, Chryslers, GMCs, Ford. That's right. Kunis Honda Hyundai is part of the Kunis family of dealers. If you're looking for a brand new vehicle that's not a Honda or Hyundai, don't go to the competitors down the street. Go to Kunis Honda Hyundai and see the magic they can do for you. It is incredible. It is like nothing else in the tri-states. Very, very special. You won't regret it. Tell them Mark sent you. Welcome on back to the show. This is episode 235 of On the Mark on this Saturday, May 11th, broadcasting live and local in our KHMO studios here in the heart of Quincy. And you can always follow me, reach out on Twitter/X or Instagram at Mark Hespin. Same thing on YouTube, MarkHespn. If you like what you hear, you can follow along the show throughout the week on the Mark KHMO on Facebook. Just search On the Mark KHMO on Facebook. Great way to stay in touch with the things that I think are interesting. I'll share some articles, post some videos sometimes middle of the week and keep us updated and all that fun stuff. I want to get into this next story. Hespin headline number 2. The Chicago Bears have named Caleb Williams QB1. QB1. 3 short years ago, I remember it well. It was May 2021. I was feeling good. I was riding a high. The Chicago Bears traded up. They drafted Justin Fields, quarterback, Ohio State. I was so happy. There was a gleam in my eye. I thought maybe Matt Nagy is going to finally put together that magic he had in 2018. He's going to find a way to get the most out of this kid. This is exactly what he was hoping for with Mitch Trubisky, but now he's got the tool, the weapon in Justin Fields. He's going to make Justin Fields into something special. And Matt Nagy's going to re-grab that energy from 2018, and you look out. We're just coming off a playoff berth. Look out. This is going to be something big. It's going to be awesome. And what happened? Well, by OTAs and training camp, all the reports were, man, Justin Fields throws a really great deep ball, and guys in the locker room love him. But Andy Dalton, who the Bears signed, is the starting quarterback. We are not going to rush Justin Fields. This is Andy's job. Andy is the guy. He will mentor Justin, even though they don't play a similar game at all or similar style. But don't worry, Andy Dalton will take the lead. Get the Bears off to a good start. And he gets injured early on in the season, and they throw Justin Fields into the Wolves, and we know the rest is history. There were many people, myself included, who were frustrated at that time 3 years ago, saying, just give the kid the reps. Give the kid the reps. Make him QB1 at practice, then fine. If you want to start Dalton, whatever, but the kid should be getting the reps. This is your franchise. This is your investment. And what do you know? The new version of the Chicago Bears 3 years later, with their GM, who's now going into year 3, with their head coach, who's now going into year 3, after that administration had been eliminated for the poor decisions they made. They decided, no. There's going to be no quarterback controversy. There's going to be no Justin Fields and Caleb Williams in camp together. There's going to be no, hey, we're also signing Russell Wilson and Justin and drafted Caleb. We're going to let him learn and sit back and relax. No. Hey, kid, this is your franchise. Let's get the reps. Let's learn. Let's grow. Start now. Got 3 months till we're into training camp. And, and we're really into the heart of getting into preseason games in about a little over 3 months from now. Let's go. Crash course. And we're going to try to do our best to protect you. And we're going to do our best to help you along the way. Franchise is in your hands. And let's support you. And I love it. I love it. Now, I don't love it for every franchise. Should the Patriots be doing what the Bears are doing? Absolutely not. The Patriots are in a different situation. They have no weapons. They have a shaky at best offensive line, a brand new coaching staff and GM after a legend has left the building. And they have an extremely capable and very, very solid veteran quarterback in Jacoby Brissett, who plays a very similar pocket style to their rookie quarterback, Drake May. All the things line up perfectly for the New England Patriots to throw Jacoby Brissett out there with no weapons and bring Drake May along. Right? I hope that you're listening in Washington, because I think Washington should do what Chicago Bears are doing. You got some weapons. You got Terry McLaurin. Got a solid offensive line. You have a head coach who, even though it's his first year, he's been a head coach before, and he is someone who is going to take care of the defense. You have an offensive coordinator who's a former head coach who runs a style that is perfectly situated to bring out the best in Jaden Daniels. And I really hope that Washington does what Chicago does. It comes out and names Jaden as the starter, give him all the reps in the world, and roll with it. Now, what should Atlanta do? Obviously roll with Kirk Cousins. What should the Broncos do? I think the Broncos at this point should roll with Bo Nix and just say, we got to see what we got in this kid. Same thing if I was the Vikings. Sam Darnold, he's a placeholder at best. You're only paying him $10 million. That's backup money quarterback anyways. I would throw McCarthy to the Wolves, get him as many reps as possible. You need Justin Jefferson to build a relationship with this kid in the hopes to make Justin Jefferson happy so you don't lose your franchise's best player. But I love that the Chicago Bears are going all in on just saying, no, yeah, we're going with Caleb Williams. Now, going off of this a little bit more, I've done this before a couple weeks ago, expectations for Caleb Williams' number 1 year. I want to talk a little bit more about what I think there's a couple crucial rookie years to look at in the modern NFL. I don't want to go back to Dan Marino or whatever. But Cam Newton's rookie year, when he was the number 1 overall pick and big physical athlete but could use his legs, big arm. Different passer than Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is a more refined passer coming out of college, but Cam is obviously more of a physical freak and a running threat. Cam threw for 4,000 yards, 60% completion percentage. They were 6-10, but they were a 1-win team the year before. He threw for 21 touchdowns, ran for 14, along with 700 yards. And he had 17 interceptions. So in total, a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. But a lot of interceptions. They asked him to do a lot. He threw the ball 517 times. He threw the ball more than C.J. Stroud threw the ball last year. And I thought C.J. Stroud threw the ball an incredible amount of times, 499 to Cam's 517. C.J. Stroud did complete 63.9% of his balls, 4,108 yards, 23 touchdowns passing, only 3 touchdowns rushing, but a very, very low 5 INTs, and including his fumbles, he only had 4 fumbles lost. So his 9 total turnovers, a lot less than Cam Newton's, and Cam had a fumbling problem as well, interceptions. Those are 2 different stat lines I think that Bears fans should expect from a Caleb Williams, or keep an eye on it for Caleb Williams. Obviously, you'd like to see more of the C.J. Stroud as far as the efficiency and the less turnovers. But I think Caleb Williams is more of a runner and an athlete than C.J. Stroud. I'd like to see him closer to about 300, 400 yards rushing and more like 7, 8 rushing touchdowns, because I just think he should be thought of as a weapon in the end zone, in the red zone. Listen, I love Caleb. I love what Caleb Williams is saying at the podium as well. He was quoted after being named QB1 saying, to be a great leader, you got to first learn how to follow. Right now, I'm following all the vets, having both ears open and my mouth shut. How can you not love that? Big season for Caleb Williams coming. You're listening on the Mark News Talk 1070 KHMO, the KHMO app, brought to you by Kunis Honda Hyundai.
For some children, a single surgery can turn an untreated cleft into a smile for life. But at Smile Train, we understand that most children need a little extra care. They need nourishment to ensure they grow healthy and strong. They need a confident voice so they can express themselves clearly. They need emotional support and counseling to help them navigate the challenges of school and home life. And they need orthodontic and dental care to make sure their smiles light up the room as brightly as possible. Visit smiletrain.org to learn how Smile Train is supporting the cleft community with lifelong smiles. Smile Train, changing the world one smile at a time.
We put our lives on the line for our country. We braved the unknown. We did what we were told, and we lit up. Our cigarette packs were as valuable as the packs on our back, maybe more. At one point, cigarettes were part of our daily ration. Smoke 'em if you got 'em. And boy, we were smoking 'em. Bumming a smoke was the norm. It was an escape from the reality of dirt, sweat, and forgetting how many days you were so far from home. Never had to worry so long as you had a light and the smoking lamp was lit. If that was you then, get your lungs screened now. Surviving lung cancer starts with a scan. Learn more at screenyourlungs.org. And thank you for your service. This PSA was made possible by industry funding and guidance from lung cancer patient groups.
Over the last few years, things have gotten weird.
And for our kids, these things can be overwhelmingly stressful.
And can increase the risk for mental health problems as they grow.
Scientific research
and real-life experience
tell us that the number one antidote to stress is authentic, trusted relationships.
So that's why I.
That's why I.
That's why we.
That's why I am committed to building and maintaining a trusted space.
For the students I influence every single day. This is a trusted space.
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 Access free films and resources to build trusted spaces in your schools and communities at atrustedSpace.org.
Here's your weatherology forecast from the News Talk 1070 KHMO Weather Center. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times today, with daytime highs approaching 76. Northwest winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Lows around 51 tonight, mainly clear skies. Right now, 63.
Welcome on back to On the Mark here on News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app, brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. You got to ask them about that lifetime powertrain, no fear warranty on new and used vehicles. When you stop by the dealership, just say, hey, Mark sent me. I'm here. I want a new ride. It's Mother's Day weekend. You're treating the moms out there, treating them to a new ride from Cunis Honda Hyundai. All right. Welcome on into the show. If you're just joining us, follow me on all social media at Mark Hespen, MarkHespen. That's Twitter /Instagram /X and YouTube. Follow the show on the Mark KHMO on Facebook. Okay, we moved on from Hespen headlines 1 and 2. I want to move on to, I think, another story that's going to be fascinating. Can't wait to talk about it. Cannot wait to talk about it next week on the show. It is probably going to lead our show, depending on what happens with the rest of the series in the NBA. But it is something that I look forward to every year. The reports are out over the next couple days, leading into Wednesday, when officially Wednesday, May 15th, we believe the NFL will officially release the schedule for 2024-2025. Now, we do already know some things from the NFL schedule. We know that on September 6th, that's a Friday, the day after opening day of the NFL. Remember, it always opens on a Thursday. We'll get Thursday, and then Friday night, we will get in Brazil, Sao Paulo, Brazil, Packers-Eagles. That's going to be awesome. 2 playoff teams from last year, 2 young quarterbacks, both looking to prove it this year. Jalen Hurts, is he more of 2 years ago guy? Is he more of last year guy? What is Jalen Hurts? Paid big money, got to live up to that contract, had a down year last year, especially towards the end of the season, injury concerns throughout his young career. And then you have Jordan Love, guy who had an incredible about 7-game stretch towards the middle end of the season, but was a guy that early on in the year struggled, and then threw the backbreaking interception to seal their fate in San Francisco. So I love that. Love that matchup. We do know that the Vikings and the Bears will both host games at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's the newer one. I've been to that stadium. You know, if you listen to the show, I was at the last time the Bears played there when they played the Raiders. That was the Mitch Trubisky got injured game. Chase Daniel came in, and my life was very sad game. And I saw the Bears lose against the Raiders all the way across the pond. So the Bears and Vikings will host games at Tottenham Hotspur, opponents to BD. We also know the Jags will host a game in London at Wembley Stadium, opponent TBD. And we do know the NFL is going back to Germany, to Munich. Yes, the Germans will see some more football as the Carolina Panthers are going to be heading to Munich. So already pretty good. You got a lot of young quarterbacks overseas. Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts. And then in London, you're getting Trevor Lawrence, Caleb Williams, McCarthy, and then, of course, last year's number 1 overall pick as well with Bryce Young. Now, I do have a prediction for what I believe the opening night Thursday game will be. Last year, they were in Kansas City, as they should have been. They were the defending champions. They lost to Detroit. I called that game, by the way. No big deal. Don't mean to brag, but I did. And I love the Lions again this year, but I will get into that later. I believe, again, the NFL will open Thursday night in Kansas City. 2 main reasons. Obviously, they're the defending Super Bowl champions. And have you heard of her, Taylor Swift? Yeah, she's a thing. She's kind of a big thing. And the NFL, I think, to start their season, would love to get the ratings the way they ended their season with the Swifties and Taylor Swift in attendance. Now, I have not looked into whether or not Taylor Swift can physically be in Kansas City come September 5th. That is something I actually might Google right now live as I'm doing this. Let's look at this. Taylor Swift. This is fascinating radio. No, not net worth. Taylor Swift tour dates 2024. Okay, what is her tour dates 2024? She's going to be May. That's no good. She's in the United Kingdom, June, July, August. All right. Okay, wait a minute here now. She's got a break. Her last performance, August 20th, Wembley Stadium. And next one, November 14th in Toronto. She's got September, October, and early November free to go to Chiefs games. The NFL is happy. Travis, don't blow this. The NFL needs those ratings. So I predict Chiefs Thursday night opener. They have 3 teams I think could be the possibility. I'll start with my number 3 prediction, and that would be the Texans. The Texans, young C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud had an extremely great second rookie year. Starting off that second year, getting kind of the primetime big Houston TV audience. I'm going to go with C.J. Stroud and the Texans as number 3. Number 2 prediction would be the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow, healthy, returns to Burrowhead. I think that is an electric matchup. And I think it's one of those that would provide a lot of juice, especially if Joe Burrow showed up, balled out, started the season off. Remember, he has had really rough starts to every one of his seasons as an NFL quarterback. To get off on the right foot, that could be an electric ratings thing for the NFL. And then I think the number 1 and most obvious choice, and I think this is what we will get to start the season, Chiefs hosting the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, the MVP, 2-time MVP, a rematch of the AFC title game. Only this time, it's in Kansas City. And so I think that's what you're probably going to get. One of those 3 matchups, lock it in. That is going to be your first game of the NFL season. That's my official prediction. Now, going off of that, I want to say the schedule release, we'll talk about it next week, kind of actually breaking down some key matchups and some interesting who got a breaks, who got bad schedules. Why it's important. Let me just explain this the easiest way I know how. Look at my Chicago Bears, right? The Bears have expectations. They have the number one overall pick. You have a team that feels like it's got to win games. So we know already who these teams are playing. So why does it matter when the schedule is? Well, let me put it to you this way. Matt Eberflus is probably coaching for his job this year. He's got an incredibly improved roster. You look at 2 years ago versus now. You look at last year versus now. His roster is just incredibly better, insanely better. And his quarterback, we assume, is much better. Now, what if the Bears started with 2 away games, 2 home games? Let's just, for example, say at Green Bay and then like home against Detroit and then at the 49ers. Home against the 49ers, then at the Jags. They play all 4 of those teams this year in those places. What if that was the start of their season? I could easily see the Bears starting 0-4 if they go at Packers, home against Detroit, home against the Niners, at Jags. That's an 0-4 start maybe for a team that I think is a good team. It's an improved team, but that's very easily an 0-4 start. Now you're talking about your coach being fired. Is your quarterback a bust? Blah, blah, blah. Or what if these are also 4 opponents the Bears are playing in these locations? They start with home against the Panthers, at the Vikings, at the Cardinals, home against Seattle. I think that's 4-0. Think about how different your season is then. That is why schedule release is important. It's really important because that changes the vibe of your season. The Bears are playing at the Panthers. Home against the Panthers, home against Seattle, home against the Niners, home against Detroit. But when you play them is really important. If your schedule is at Green Bay, home against Detroit, at Jags, home against the Niners, or your schedule is home Panthers, at Vikings, at Cardinals, home Seattle, that's 4-0 versus 0-4. And that is huge for your team, your roster, your momentum. That's why schedule release is important. And that's why we'll be talking a ton about it next week on the show. I will break down, I think, the most, to me, the games I can't wait for the most, the teams I think that got really screwed, the teams I think that got huge breaks, and I'll give you some thoughts, early thoughts, even to be able to predict who I think maybe is even going to win a division based on, listen, they got some massive, massive scheduling breaks. That is how important it is. You're listening on The Mark, News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app. We are brought to you by Kunis Honda Hyundai. They are your number 1 Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. Got to ask about that lifetime powertrain warranty on new and used vehicles. Hey, just so you know, what you can do is you can follow me on all social media at Mark Hespen, MarkHespen. You can follow me on all that social media. That's YouTube, Twitter /X, Instagram, and on the Mark KHMO on Facebook. We'll be back.
My whole identity had been wrapped up in being a soldier. To have that so violently ripped from me when I was wounded, I was lost for a very long time. When Wounded Warrior Project came into my life, being around the other warriors, people that had similar experiences that I did, it was a game changer for me. Having King join the group, that was the beginning of a really good friendship. It's a good time.
I first heard about Wounded Warrior Project through CQ. And at first I was kind of like, I don't know if I qualify. But having been a part of it, it's kind of taught me that it's not just the wounds that you can see, but it's those that you can't.
When you do something like a peer support group with Wounded Warrior Project and come together from different walks of life, man, the growth is incredible. If not for Wounded Warrior Project, I really don't think that I'd be here today.
See how we help warriors combat stigma at woundedwarriorproject.org/combat stigma.
1070 KHMO.
Welcome on back to On the Mark here on News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app. Brought to you by the incredible people over at Kunis Honda Hyundai. You know what's exciting about them right now? Expansion. Oh, that's right. They're growing. They are the biggest and best dealership in the tri-states. And when you're the biggest and the best, you continue to grow. and you continue to look for great people to add to your team, they're hiring. Everything from sales to service and everything in between. Stop by Kunis Honda, Hyundai 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. Ask about an application. Go to shopkunis.com. Find the applications as well. Join the Kunis family. What's great about them, too, is they have programs where it's like, hey, you want to get into car sales, but you're a little unsure of, like, the whole commission thing? They'll do base salaries for a certain amount of time to get your feet wet, build up that business. Then sky's the limit. To the moon, rockets. Love what they're doing over at Kunis Honda Hyundai. Join the Kunis family like I did, or literally join the Kunis family and go work for them. They're hiring. Stop by 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. Tell them Mark sent you. All right, wrapping up the show. Last couple of minutes of the show, and I want to touch on golf. Oh, yeah. By this time next week, guess what? We will be into the weekend of the PGA Championship, the second major on golf's schedule. This is going to be must-watch TV. One of the big storylines will be, hey, Scottie Scheffler's wife still hasn't had that baby yet. So Scottie said he'd leave the Masters if his wife went into labor. So if his wife goes into labor during the PGA, will he leave the PGA? That'll be something to keep an eye on. Scottie's obviously the number one in the world right now. Scottie is just incredible. But Scottie's got two majors. And both his majors are green jackets. We haven't seen Scottie yet close the deal out of Augusta National. He's in Kentucky this weekend for the PGA this upcoming weekend. And there's a couple of the great storylines to look out for, like Brooks Koepka. He's won 5 majors, 3 of them PGAs. Like, this is just an event he dominates at. And I think it's because, if I had to guess, it's because it's a major. His other 2 are U.S. Opens. He's a major in the United States, and it's a major that doesn't have the pressure of the green jacket. And I think there's something really special about Brooks on these courses that aren't Augusta National. It's why he's got 2 U.S. Opens and 2 PGAs. Doesn't have an Open yet because I don't think his game translates 100% to European links golf. And the Augusta National is a really extremely tough course. Especially Brooks's game doesn't translate 100% well to that. And there's that added pressure of the green jacket. So I think Brooks is going to play loose. He's the defending PGA champion. I think he's going to play free. I think Brooks is going to be a real alpha male this weekend. I would absolutely bet Brooks to make a top 10, top 5, top 3, or even to win this weekend. Another great storyline for the weekend, Jordan Spieth. He's got 3 majors. He's got an Open. He's got a U.S. Open. He's got a green jacket. Doesn't have a PGA. Can Jordan Spieth do something that Rory doesn't have, that Brooks doesn't have, and can he get himself the career Grand Slam? You could argue if he does that, Jordan Spieth's career is better than Rory McIlroy's. They'll both be at 4 majors, but Jordan's got the career Grand Slam, which is like the Jordan 6 for 6 debate, right? I mean, that is a huge, huge thing in golf. It's one of the few things that Brooks is lacking in his all-time resume as well, is finding at least getting to 3 as opposed to having 5 is incredible, but only in 2 of the 4 majors. And then, of course, all eyes will be on the big names, Rory, Jon Rahm, DJ, Morikawa. Jon Rahm, DJ, and Morikawa and JT all have 2. Can they get to 3? Matsuyama playing good golf. Can he get a second major? And then, of course, Tiger Woods. Reports are that Tiger looks healthy, playing good golf right now. Can he compete for a whole entire 4-day stretch? Can his body hold up? Can't wait for it. This time next week, we'll have NFL breakdown. We might have some conference finals matchups in the NBA, and we'll definitely have the NFL schedule release. We'll dive into it all next week. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, X, at Mark Hespin. Follow the show on the Mark HMO on Facebook. We'll do a Wednesday update video this week. Now that I'm back from vacation, enjoy this weekend. Happy Mother's Day. We'll see you next